This morning, President Trump will attend a virtual meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and European allies. The call comes ahead of Friday's historic summit on U.S. soil between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, that meeting will take place at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, located on the northern edge of Anchorage. You see it here on the map right next to me. Zelenskyy, who is not involved in Friday's summit but wants to be, warned, quote, "Talks about us without us will not work." We've got team coverage for you this morning. Ramy Inocencio is covering President Zelensky's movements from our London bureau. But let's begin with Taurean Small at the White House. Good morning, Taurean. This is a significant day for Ukraine. So what will President Trump communicate with Zelenskyy? What's really at stake right now?
Yeah, Earl, considering that it is quite apparent that Zelenskyy will not be a part of Friday's summit, and considering the president himself said that a trilateral meeting between Putin, Zelenskyy, and himself is unlikely to happen in the immediate future, especially before that summit, this is an opportunity for Zelenskyy and European leaders to get in the president's ear before he has that sit-down conversation with Putin. The saying goes, you're either at the table or on the menu. So this request from the German chancellor to talk to the president, to have European leaders and Ukrainian leaders talk to the president, signifies the concern that Ukraine might not be in the best interest of this summit. We also know that the president previously said that a land swap might be on the table. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said any conversation about the line of demarcation without Ukraine is not in the best interest for their country. So it's paramount that the president considers Ukraine's interests moving forward.
And Taurean, the White House seems to be lowering expectations for Friday's summit with Putin. They're now describing it simply as a listening exercise. So what is the real goal?
Yeah, the shift in the tone of what this meeting will be went from last week, the president looking to broker a peace deal, to just this week during a press conference, the president saying that he's just trying to sit down with Putin and see where he's at, really getting a vibe check of sorts to see if a peace deal is in the immediate future. But he said that would ultimately lie within the decision of President Putin. This is what the president of Eurasia Group told us yesterday on CBS News Evening Plus.
So he really is trying to make this meeting happen, not because he knows it's going to bring peace, but because he hopes that the pressure is going to bring the Russians closer to something that the Ukrainians can accept. And if he can accomplish that, then he will probably put more pressure once again on Zelenskyy.
The president really looks to temper expectations about what will come out of this meeting. He was asked during the press conference what would be a successful meeting. He says he just wants to talk to Putin again. He was also asked what would be a successful deal. He told reporters that he would know because he specializes in making these deals, but ultimately it would rest at the feet of Putin if whether or not he wants to come back to the table.
Yeah, we'll watch this very closely. Taurean, thank you very much. CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio, who has reported extensively from Ukraine, joins us now from London with more on what's happening today. Good morning, Ramy. So we just heard from there, Taurean, the White House perspective. Interesting, he makes the comment that if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. So how is Ukraine and how are European leaders positioning themselves today to have some kind of influence on what happens Friday?
Right. And to boil this down into perhaps two simplistic messages, Errol, one is don't believe Putin, and the other is don't sell out Ukraine. These, I see, are the expected messages to Trump when leaders of the so-called coalition of the willing talk today. That is expected to start in about 2 hours' time. Zelenskyy will be logging on from Berlin, and there you see he has already landed in Berlin, shaking hands with Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Other leaders joining from the UK, Finland, France, Italy, Poland, NATO, and the EU. The mood is really concern, if not really fear, that Trump might strike a deal with Putin without Ukraine or Europe. And Zelenskyy, President Zelenskyy, just released a statement doubling down on that, calling on Ukraine's allies to compel Russia to make peace, to not be deceived by Russia. And he said that there's no sign that the Russians are preparing to end that war. And one thing we do know, Errol, is that Zelenskyy absolutely rejects the idea of giving up any Ukrainian territory, specifically the Donbas region. Those two regions, they're in orange on your map, highest on your map on the side. Moscow holds almost all of Luhansk. That's a topmost region there, and then about 70% of Donetsk. And then just about an hour ago, Russia's foreign ministry released a statement saying that Moscow's stance for ending the war has not changed since June of 2024, and that includes the full Ukrainian pullout from the 4 regions of Ukraine that Moscow has captured. As we go ahead into this virtual meeting, Ukraine's allies will be trying to guide that conversation with Trump. I expect that will be diplomatically, without him potentially reacting negatively.
And meanwhile, the war rages on. Ramy, thank you very much.